Hey, Bells Crossing, second grade. Honeybees, hope you're doing well. So I am picking up on chapter 30 of Wishtree. And this is by Catherine Applegate. She has lots of books. So if you're enjoying this, definitely check out some of her other books. So chapter 30. The animals gaped at me in astonishment. Even the youngest babies knew about the don't talk to people rule. So when someone gapes at you in astonishment, it means they're surprised. They can't believe you just did something or said something. Bongo darted to my top branch. Red, she cried in a strangled whisper. You can't. Oh, but I can, I said. What have I got to lose? But, as I was saying, I returned my attention to Stephen and Samar. They were staring at me, jaws dropped, eyes wide, as frozen as flash had been not long ago. We're dreaming, Stephen murmured, right? At the same time, Samar asked, is that possible? Pinch me, Stephen said. Samar complied. Definitely felt that, Stephen reported. Maybe it was a dream pinch, Samar suggested. Excuse me, I interrupted. I have 216 rings worth of wisdom to convey and not much time. Stephen reached for Samar's hand. If it's a dream, he said, at least it's a cool one. And so I began. So now we're on chapter 31. So I haven't always been a wish tree. It happened in 1848, long before I was surrounded by concrete and cars. When I was just a few decades old, still a youngster by Red Oak standards. Not long, no longer a lanky sapling. I was solid and strong, but not anchored to the earth the way I am now. This was a time, like many others, when the hungry, desperate people sailed on crowded boats. Settled here, many of them ended up, as they always seem to in my neighborhood. The blue and green houses were brown then and filled to overflowing with new arrivals. Sometimes the newcomers were welcomed, sometimes they were not. But still they came, hoping and wishing, as people always do. One of our new residents was a young Irish girl named Maeve. She'd voyaged across the Atlantic with her 19-year-old brother who had died of dysentery during the trip. Their mother had passed away shortly after Maeve was born. Their father when the children were 9 and 12. Maeve was silent and plain, but when she smiled, it was like sunshine peeking through clouds. She had a deep laugh, and her hair was a brilliantly red as the finest autumn attire. 16, alone and penniless, Maeve shared a tiny room with 5 other immigrants. She worked night and day, cleaning and cooking and doing whatever she could to stay alive. Maeve soon discovered that she was gifted at caring for the sick. She had no special knowledge, no secret remedies, but she was kind and patient, and she knew how to soothe a fevered brow with a cool cloth as well as anyone. What she didn't know, she was willing to learn. As time passed, word grew on Maeve's abilities. People brought her their sick piglets and their lame horses, their coughing children and fretful babies. Always, she explained that she wasn't sure she could help, but since people in the neighborhood were too poor to go to a doctor, they turned to Maeve. And since people believed she could help them get better, Maeve tried to live up to their hopes. When she succeeded, and even when she didn't, patients and their families would leave small tokens for her. A whittled figurine of a bird, a hairpin, a half loaf of bread. Once someone even left a leather-covered journal with a tiny silver key that opened its lock. When Maeve was out tending to someone who was sick, people took to leave their thank yous in my lowest hollow. It was still a fresh wound, just a couple of seasons mended, but because it faced the house where Maeve roomed and not the street, it was a safe place to leave a token of gratitude. That's when I realized that hollows can be a good thing for people, not just birds and animals. Little did I know just how good. Chapter 32. The years passed and Maeve became as connected to the neighborhood as I was, even as newcomers from other lands added their music and food and language to our little part of the world. No matter where people were from, Maeve cared for them as best she could. I grew tougher, my older limbs less pliable, my shadow longer. More trees and shrubs joined me, but there was plenty of sun for all of us, and we never wanted for water. I'd hosted many families by then, mice and chipmunks in particular. My closest confidant was a young gray squirrel named Squibbles. So, just so you know, all squirrel names begin with the letter SQU. This is Squibbles. So Squibbles was especially fond of Maeve, who often fed the little squirrel table scraps. Privately, Squibbles and I worried over Maeve. Along the way, Maeve had seen a suitor or two, but nothing much had come of those flirtations. So a suitor is a possible boyfriend or girlfriend. She had friends aplenty and work to do from dawn till dusk. Still, she seemed lonely. Sometimes Maeve would sit on the porch steps watching happy families stroll past, and her eyes would well up with tears. At night, she'd gaze out an open upstairs window, and her sighs would float to us on the breeze, melancholy as the call of a morning dove. Melancholy is sad. That's what that means. Often Maeve would sit at the base of my trunk and write in her journal. Now and then she'd read passages aloud. She spoke about the Irish countryside fading into fog. She spoke about her family she'd lost. She spoke about her secret hopes and fears and longings. She had love to give and no one to give it to. Maeve adored early mornings when the world was bathed in mist and the sun was still a promise. She would lean against my trunk and close her eyes and hum a tune from her childhood. One day, the first day of May, Maeve joined me at dawn. To my surprise, she reached up to my lowest bow and gently tied a scrap of blue strip fabric into a careful knot. I wish, she whispered, for someone to love with all my heart. That was my first wish, and the beginning of many more. That was a wonderful first wish to start with. So we will pick up on chapter 33 tomorrow. You have a wonderful night.